All right, so it is a Car Talk Thursday, and I am decked out wearing my Saints shirt. And let's start with that. Let us start with the Saints losing on Monday night to the Buccaneers. The Bucs won. It was not a game where I'm like, wow, we got screwed. We got fucked. No, we lost. We were in control basically the entire game. And then it was really a microcosm of the entire season. Unforced errors, being unable to score in the red zone, having hope, and then just having it get ripped away. It honestly felt like watching a playoff game where you're like, all right, we can do this. We just got to make that one last defensive stand just to lose at the end. Minnesota Miracle taking the lead in the NFC Championship against the Rams, which I'll still always be angry about because that was PEI. Should have been called. Would have went to the Super Bowl. Don't know if we would have won. That's definitely a woulda, shoulda, coulda. But I'll always remember that. That divisional round against the 49ers, where we were down the entire game, and that fourth quarter just score, it was so back and forth. Defense couldn't stop them. We lost the game. You can definitely say this felt a lot like that Vikings game, not the Minnesota Miracle one, the one in New Orleans, where Taysom Hill went off, where it was really just the unforced errors. Drew Brees being all right, we've got the ball, I'm just gonna gun it, intercepted. Well, we could have maybe put up some points for the half. You did not need to be that aggressive. Or Drew Brees has this big fumble in scoring territory. Or I think it's at the end of the half, Will Lutz misses a 40-something yard field. I think it was a 45, 48 yard, or something that he can make consistently. Misses it in a game that went into overtime. It had that kind of feel. Shooting ourselves in the foot. Mark Ingram goes out of bounds 1 yard short of the first down. Third down, throw it to Callaway, incomplete. Don't go for it on fourth down. And it was at around midfield or so, maybe the 48 of the Bucs or some shit. Had a chance. The next drive, Taysom Hill on it was third and long. Ball is in his hands, has the first down, just can't secure the catch. And then on defense, all right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to play soft zone. We're going to play prevent defense. I think it's Chisel Adonis who I have heard him say, prevent defense prevents you from winning. Because that's all it does. I hate prevent defense because all you're doing, you are essentially saying, we're not going to give anything big. We're going to let you carve us up, go all the way into the red zone, and then that's when we're going to toughen up and tighten up. And a lot of times it doesn't work. And here, you're giving Brady underneath throws. That's what Brady's been good at his entire career. You're essentially at that point saying, hey, you know how we've been playing really good defense all game, and you haven't been able to do shit? It's all yours, man. Free real estate. Waltz right down the field and take your dub. And that's how it felt. It felt like we just gave it to them. But they took it. They won. Again, it's not bullshit. It's frustrating, 100%, because the season's done. We're, 2 games behind? Technically 3, because we've been swept. We now have a bye where they can play another game, so if they win, we'll be another game behind. We might just be eliminated if that happens. So I am now at the point where I'm there's no hope. So I can disengage. I'm still going to hope we win our games, but it's not I have to know what happens now because I still have hope in the season. It's, all right, it is what it is. But I still want to know what happens in the rest of the football season. It's like watching Survivor and your favorite person gets voted off. You're like, man, that's the person I really wanted to win, but I still want to see where the storyline goes. I guess I'll kind of root for this person now, root for this person now. So yes, granted, once the playoffs start, I'll have rooting interests on whoever's playing. Like, yeah, I hope this team wins, based on the narrative of the season. This is the team I hope wins the Super Bowl. Now, does that mean I am going to say I am a fan of that team? No, because this is my team. Am I going to feel that same elation if whoever I'm rooting for wins? No, because they're not my team. Maybe the Chiefs, just because my dad is a passionate Chiefs fan. Like, he's lived a lot in Kansas City. He's like, man, whenever I watch, for years, he was like, whenever I watch them play, they always lost. Like, I like the Chiefs, but they always disappoint me. And now that Mahomes is here, he's like, I'm so happy to be a Chiefs fan. So, like, I feel like they're the one team I might get some of that elation by because of my dad. But aside from that, it's like, I'm like, Bills Mafia, if you guys win the chip, I'm happy for you guys. I don't know if I can really say that about the NFC East. Like, I'm not going to be, like, fuming or anything, but it's like the Eagles they finally got one, so it's not like you guys finally did it. Good job. The Cowboys, it's the fucking Cowboys, and, like, the 49ers, not in the NFC East, but kind of the same thing. Like, you guys are a very, like, storied franchise. I'm not going to be like, yeah, they got another one. They got 6. Like, yeah, good job. I think maybe the Giants, just because of their weird underdog story and, like, Danny Dimes going and getting it done, like Brian Dable coming in, if they're able to go all the way, I feel like the Seahawks, and I usually don't root for the Seahawks. I have some bad Seahawks memories as a Saints fan the last few years. But if Geno Smith wins the Super Bowl, I'm going to be happy for him, man. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to become a Seahawks fan. No question. I'm not going to have that same elation as if the Saints won a Super Bowl. No question. But if the Seahawks are in the Super Bowl, unless they're against the Chiefs, I mean, I actually like quite a few of the teams in the AFC hunt. I would be really happy for him. But, like, if the LSU boys on the Bengals win, okay, Eli Apple would get one, so but for basically everyone else, like, I like these guys. I'd be happy for him. For Lamar Jackson, especially with his whole, like, contract situation, I'd be happy for him. But it's not the same. Again, like watching Survivor, it's not the same when someone besides your favorite wins, but you can still be happy for them and enjoy the story that was being told. Which I guess is as good a segue as any. I've really not talked about the season of Survivor that much, because I've been like, it's okay, it's alright, I don't love it, I don't hate it, I like it, I watch it every week, I'm glad I watch it. Last night's episode was fantastic. It is the kind of episode that makes me like, this is why I love this show. And it's why my dad hates it. Because I watched it with my dad, and my dad does not like Survivor. He's like, this, I hate this. Everyone's so scummy. It brings out the worst in humanity, like the things people will do to each other. I'm like, yeah, that's why I love it. I love how cutthroat it can be. I love how you have to balance your humanity with your desire to win. And sometimes you do real backstabby shit. That's what happened last night. Came down, I don't really want to bog people down with the details, because I don't think I know there are people who love Survivor, but in case you don't love Survivor as much as I do, to put it in its purest form, a dude stabbed his best friend in the back. It's like his best friend came up with this genius plan to get rid of a big threat. And the guy went, that is a really good plan. Shit, that's a really good plan. If that goes through, he gets all the credit for it. As well he should, because it was his idea. And he took out a big threat, made a huge play. If I'm sitting next to him at the end, I don't think I beat him. I think this is the kind of thing that puts him ahead of me. And even still, between the two of us, like, we're partners. I've been the one who's very quiet, kind of doing shit in the background. He's the guy who's a lot more loud, charismatic. Even without this play, if we're sitting next to each other, he might beat me. This puts him ahead of me. But I can take him out now and he's not going to see it. And that's going to be my move. That puts me ahead of him, clearly, and it also lets everyone know I'm here to play. Right at the end, this is my time. It was so savage and so badass. And after he gets voted out, like, the two just have this stare down where the guy who orchestrates just offers his hand. And his boy just looks at him. And it felt like such a long moment of like, really? You stab me in the back like that, and you want me to shake your hand? Alright. You're still my boy. I respect it. I'm mad as hell at you, but I respect it. And like, it was so good. It was so, like, fun to watch, fascinating to watch. Like, it was so good. So we have 5 people left. We have Jesse, who was the guy who orchestrated that. Carla, the person who got saved by Jesse's plan. Owen, who is there. I feel bad for saying that because I really like Owen. He has this, like, interesting underdog story going on, but he doesn't have a lot of agency. It's not really his fault. I think what I'm going to do, instead of just kind of saying names like basic stuff, like really kind of go into everyone's games. Which I guess right now I'm starting with Owen because that's kind of what I'm doing. He hasn't had a lot of agency, and he knows he hasn't had a lot of agency, but he's really trying to play that underdog story, and the fact that he's won a couple challenges, always something that can help. Carla, her story has been, I found an idol, and I've been really, really, really paranoid that someone is going to use an advantage to take it away from me, and I ended up telling one of my allies I had it, and now I want her gone because I told her I had it. And ultimately, she finally played it, and it kind of amounted to nothing. It's like, that, to me, is what Carla's entire story is. I don't want to say like her entire story has been nothing. It has just been about the idol. And with all the hype, how it was the center of her universe, really didn't help. And it's so interesting, because like when she first found it, she's like, I don't want this thing. It's probably more trouble than it's worth. And then was like, but now that I know it's there, like, I have to get it. And it was way more trouble than it was worth. To me, it feel like it just poisoned her entire game. At least, like, the way she, kind of thought about people and, like, her allies. It was always about the idol and didn't do much. Jesse has been the main character of the season. There have been, like, so many times where, especially in the merge, where it's like, okay, this is what's going on. This is the plan. Here's multiple people talking about what they want to do, who they want to get voted out. Then it cuts to Jesse going, I get it. It's not a bad plan, but this is what I want to do. And then that's exactly what ends up happening. He's like, this is what I think I should do. Talks to Cody. He's like, Cody, who's the guy he backstabbed. He's like, Cody, this is what I'm thinking. And then they discuss it. They're like, cool, I'm on board. And then they just go get everybody. He is the main character. I want him to win. I don't think he does. And I'll say why in a bit. It's like, or put in a bit of a pin in there, why I don't think he wins. Then we get Cass. So to me is very similar to Owen. And not that she hasn't had a lot of agency, because she's actually been in on a lot of the plans. But unlike Owen, she's actually been targeted quite a bit. But she either manages to escape, or she wins a very clutch immunity, so she's not able to be targeted. So they're underdogs in different ways. You've got the underdog because people have actually been gunning for me, but I always manage to clutch out a win whenever it's about to happen, versus the no one really works with me, and so I'm kind of having to scrape by, and I do win challenges, and it helps. I feel like Cass probably has a better chance. I think Carla probably has the worst chance of anyone left, just because, like, yeah, no one really trusts her right now. People keep talking about her like she's this huge threat, but honestly, I see her getting some votes. I don't see her getting a whole lot, if I'm being perfectly honest. I think next is probably Owen, because I feel like his like a scrappy underdog kind of puts him a little higher there. Next, I would probably say Cass for just being Owen with some more agency. Jesse is, if he gets to the end, he's winning. My winner pick is Gabler. And that sounds really weird to say. I think Gabler is winning the season because, like, you know, last night I was like, man, this is Jesse's to lose. He's doing so good. He's doing so well. And I remembered this quote from the episode where Gabler, the heart surgeon, has a really good, like, his finger is always on the pulse of the game. And I do use that as a pun, of course. But it's a very apt description of him. Once the merge happened, he was always just kind of floating around, but not in the way where it's like no one's really doing anything with me, but just gathering information, knowing what's going on. Like, there is a point where, like, a couple episodes ago, he talks to Carla and he's like, hey, this is the plan tonight. I think we should go along with it. Like, you're safe, I'm safe. Jesse and Cody are a problem. I'm not saying we get rid of them now. No. But they're a problem. And, like, the next episode happens, which I think it was 2 episodes ago. Last week happens, there's nothing, like, oh, okay, he's not targeting them, it's whatever. And then this week, after the reward challenge, Cody, Owen, Carla win, they're hanging out, and Gabler's alone with Cassidy and Jesse, and he's like, hey guys, maybe we need to start thinking about taking them out. Which, granted, I mean, in that situation, what else are you going to do? Like, hey, I mean, there's only 6 of us left. Maybe taking out your allies is a good idea. I mean, they might have idols. We kind of know that there's idols around. Carla, you know, she's from the same tribe as you, Cass. She kind of has done the same stuff. She has the same story. Cody, same thing, Jesse. He has your same story. It's the 3 of us, you, me, Cass, we all have very different stories that we can pitch to the jury. It makes it a more, not in the sense of like it's a fair play, free fight, but more it's, if you guys have the exact same story, that means they're either voting for him or voting for you. And that makes it a lot harder to pitch and show this is why I am deserving when someone can say, yeah, I literally did all the same shit, but hey, I actually won immunity challenges, or, you know, have a move or two that they could say is objectively theirs. And he plants the seed, and that is the episode where Jesse decides to take out Cody. And maybe those are mutually exclusive, but maybe they're not. And the edit does show Gabler telling that to Jesse, and then later, Jesse starts working with the idea. Now, the quote I was talking about that made me really go, Gabler might take this. Because there's been kind of a theme, especially in the merge, where people are always talking about, like, assassins. And how it's like, yeah, you don't want to just be the guy making the moves. You want to be in the quiet, in the dark, pick off your target, and walk away. It's like, what you don't want to do, it's like, what does he say? He's like, a good assassin doesn't show up to the palace gates with his sword going, I'm here to kill the king. A good assassin sneaks into the kitchen, pours some poison in the king's goblet, and leaves before anything has even happened. And then I don't remember what he said after that. I think he said something like, I'm so good at that. I think he kind of like hyped himself up a little bit. I might be misremembering, but I remember that analogy about the good assassin and the bad assassin. And then you get to the end of the episode, where 3 people were in on the Cody vote. Jesse, Gabler, and Owen. Jesse made a show of it. I don't know how he did it, but he got Cody's idol back from Cody, played it for Owen, essentially to waste Cody's idol, make sure that another person was safe, just in case, I think, but also, like, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this, give it to someone else who maybe needs it. This is going to spook Carla. She's going to play her idol. If she voted for Owen, it's negated, but it doesn't really matter. Carla has now played her idol, so she will be vulnerable later, and me, Gabler, and Owen's votes are all going to Cody. Cody is out. So really, the idol play, it was just to flush Carla's, and it worked. And everyone on the jury is like, that was Jesse's move. Jesse just did that. Jesse did that shit. Damn. And Cody knows it was Jesse. Like, it was, that's what, like, they have that stare down and like, I don't want to shake your hand, but I'm going to shake your hand. he essentially killed the king. Not to say that Cody was the guy in charge necessarily, but it's, for all intents and purposes, he showed up at the palace gates and killed the king. Now he has to escape. Excuse me. Gabler, on the other hand, put the poison in. He put in the seed of, hey, maybe you should do this. And then that's what happened. If Gabler and Jesse sit next to each other, Jesse wins. Because even though Gabler suggested it, Jesse's the one who actually orchestrated it. But if Jesse's not there, Gabler has... That's like the kind of shit that he's been doing. I know what's going on. I play the fool. People don't think I'm as smart as I am. But I know what's going on here. There's also a line that they included, where Jeff is like, yeah, Jesse's never won a challenge before. He's never won immunity before. And I'm kind of sitting there thinking, okay, like there's 3 reasons this could be included. Number 1, because it's a thing Jeff said in the heat of a challenge and they're not going to cut it out. Which, I mean, I assume not everything he says makes it in, especially in like really long challenges. So it could just be there for fun flavor. But let's have some fun. Let's say it is there for foreshadowy purposes. That means one of 2 things. 1, it's to kind of hype up the fact that he has not won a challenge, but he's going to. Like, he has his own idol, so unless an idol nullifier shows up in the next round, which is not an impossibility, because they like just throwing stuff out in the middle of nowhere, he's guaranteed 4, but he has to either win that challenge or win fire making. And so that could be a way of saying, it's like, yes, you haven't won yet, but don't worry, audience, he will. He'll either win that final immunity or he'll win the fire, he'll get to the end. Or it's because he doesn't. It is a reminder of he still hasn't won a challenge yet, and all he has to do is at that point win that final immunity or win that fire making, and the million is his, securing that bag. But he falls just short. Tragic. And it's that Gabler quote. I'm like, again, it's like, if Jesse makes it to the end, he's winning, in my personal opinion. And that's who I want to win. But man, like that, it really got in my head. I was like, they included that for a reason. I think Gabler is going to win for being the superior assassin, for getting rid of his targets and being able to escape scot-free. Wow, what a chaotic ending that's going to be. Like, I think some people are going to be mad if that happens. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I could be completely wrong. I don't want to say I would like to be wrong, because I'm not like, man, I hate Gabler, I hope he loses or anything. No. But I do want to be wrong, because I am rooting for Jesse, because holy shit, he's playing an impeccable game. If he gets to the end, he might literally have a perfect game. He has had no votes cast against him. He can't have votes against him in the next round because he's going to play his idol unless a nullifier shows up, which I really hope it doesn't. Then it would come down to like, all right, you can't vote him out at 4 because it's just fire making. Then if he sweeps the jury, which he might not, but he very well could. I would just like to see what happens. But anyways, not the only things I wanted to talk about, but I had to shit on the Saints, and I really had to talk about that episode of Survivor. A couple other things. What does that say? Oh, I've started Final Fantasy IX. I very barely started it, but it's one of Clay's favorite games. He's like, this is my favorite Final Fantasy. I think it is the best one. So I've been meaning to check it out for a while, and from what I understand, it has that reputation of everyone talks about 6 and 7 and 10, and like when 15 came out, it was the new hotness, for better or for worse. But everyone who's played 9 will say that this is the best one, and if not, it's really, really close. I think kind of like how I've heard a saying when it comes to Game of Thrones, everyone's favorite character is Tyrion. They might tell you someone else, because that's essentially what they're saying is, this is my favorite character who's not Tyrion. It sounds like Final Fantasy IX is kind of the same thing. That's your favorite Final Fantasy if you've played it, but you might have another one. You're like, this one maybe appeals to me a little bit more personally, but 9 is 9. So I'm excited to start it. I'll keep updated as it goes. Ooh, FedEx truck. Am I getting it delivered? I know I have a friend who has a present coming in a couple days. Nope, looks like it went past the house. That is not his present. Sorry, N7. Speaking of N7, he's a friend of mine, as I just said. So he finally finished The Count of Monte Cristo. And to celebrate, we watched the 2002 movie, and he made Monte Cristo sandwiches. The sandwich? Way better than the movie. And that is both praising N7 making the sandwich, it was a really good sandwich, and also meant to throw shade at the movie. What I love about the book is there's so much gray to it. Edmund is an innocent man who was wronged. But the shit he does to get his revenge and the people he is willing to hurt shows that he's not a good man anymore. You understand it. You're rooting for him. But you also know he's not a good person anymore. Edmond Dante and the Count of Monte Cristo are different people. On the other side of the coin, his enemies aren't just evil. Fernand, piece of shit, genuinely loves his wife and son. Villefort, someone who was very, very conflicted about what he did to Edmund. And even after doing it I made the wrong choice. I remember there's a line where I think it's like Mercedes goes to Villefort to fight on Edmund's behalf, and Villefort gets away from her. And the narration literally says, if Mercedes had kept going, if she followed him and kept begging, he would have set Edmund free. Because he knew what he did was wrong and that this woman was correct. And she was so close. Tragic. There's also the fact that he also loves his daughter. They have their issues, but to me it seemed clear that he does genuinely care about her and he does want her to be happy. But it's kind of like a Princess Kaguya situation where it's, I know what will make you happy more than you know what will make you happy. But to me, it seemed like it came from a good place. Also loves his wife, also loves his son. I mean, there's still other things about Villefort that make him a piece of shit. Don't get me wrong, but he's a lot more gray and complex. Then you have Danglars, who is just an awful person. But he so relishes how horrible he is. I remember the narration after the conspiracy happened, and you've got Villefort is I done this horrible thing. I can't believe I did that. I shouldn't have done that. What do I do? And I think for Danglars, it just says he had the best night's sleep he had in years. He slept fantastic. He didn't give a shit. And then in the movie, Fernand is just really scummy and slimy. And then it's clear he does not care at all about his son. He does not care at all about Mercedes. Villefort is just a greedy money grubber. His conscience doesn't really come up at all. Although there's an exchange between him and Fernand I really liked, where Fernand's hey, I need you to help me with some bullshit. I'm okay, I require 70%, and yet you'll only have 50. Done. It made me giggle. I enjoyed that. There's also a fun exchange between Dante and his jailer, who's yeah, I know you're innocent. That's why you're here. This is the place they put the people they don't want to be found. And, we have a little tradition where every year on the anniversary that you came here, we give you a beating, a nice celebration. And I don't remember exactly what they say, but they say something about God, and Edmund's but God is always with me. He watches, he's always there. And the jailer's okay, I'll make you a bargain. You pray to God to come save you. And if he shows up, I'll stop hitting you. And damn, that is just cold as ice. Also, this dude was not in the book. This was just like, hey, let's make a really horrible person for the movie. And Danglars in the movie, they just don't do anything with him. Like, it feels like he's there because he's supposed to be. But for the guy who's the final boss, like the ringleader of the conspiracy, man, they just do him so dirty. And it's so dissatisfying. Like, it's acted very well. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, presentation-wise, this is I think it's a good film. And if I had not read the book, I would think, this is a solid story. So this is what the Count of Monte Cristo is about. Yeah, it's about getting revenge on these three assholes. Yeah, fuck those guys. But having read the book, like, wow. They lose what makes them so interesting, the antagonists. And Edmund loses his gray morality as well. Because, like, what's he really doing? Well, he's ruining them financially. But it's not showing how this affects their families or anything. So, like, the movie still tries to do the whole, Edmund, maybe you shouldn't be doing your revenge. Like, you don't have to keep doing this. Without ever showing him going too far. Because, oh boy, he does in the book. Which, I won't spoil it. It's a really old book, but I won't spoil it in case you haven't read it. But I highly, highly recommend, I listened to an audiobook, but experiencing the book for yourself, because it's magnificent. But there's a moment where after he has done something really bad, he goes back to the prison. He goes back to the Chateau d'If. And as he's there, he's like, I did all these things because I felt that God was with me and that my vengeance was his justice. But I just did something that I don't think is just. And now, coming back here, where they sent me, it's still not just what I just did, but I can't stop. I'm gonna tone down the next one. But he's still going to suffer. And yeah, I love his punishment for Danglars. It's so good. I remember Clay was telling me as I was reading, he's like, dude, it's some real like Danganronpa shit. I was like, yo, it kinda is. I love it so much. So yeah, the only other couple things to say, so that's really it for Monte Cristo, is I did finish Dr. Stone. I think it's good. I think Dr. Stone is a story that is very fun, has a lot of really fun characters, but not particularly deep characters, not particularly interesting characters. The ending, I think it's fine. It's the kind of ending where I'm like, okay, is this what I expected to happen? No, but I don't really know what other options you had except like a time loop, which is what I was expecting, but I also wasn't like, man, that sounds like such a good ending, so I think it's fine. And then the ending, because I'm not going to spoil like what happens on the moon. I mean, that's theoretically a spoiler that I even said that, but that's such a big thing for a while, is we're going to go to the moon. I won't spoil what happens on the moon. Literally the last chapter, I don't mind spoiling, which makes me kind of sound like an asshole, but literally just the very end is, I want to build a time machine. And that's it. It's like a few years later, because there's a lot of fucking time skips at the end of the manga. And they're like, yeah, we want to build a time machine, because that's cool, and maybe we can, like, save people from across the world and time or whatever. It's like, yeah, get excited for it, and that's how it ends. Like, so is there going to be a Dr. Stone 2, or it just becomes Time Squad? Like, I don't know. I think this is where it's actually ending, but okay. The ending, I think the ending is fine. It is the kind of story that if I have children, I really want to introduce them to Dr. Stone. Because what it is about at its core is a love for science. It is about curiosity of the unknown and a desire to experiment, to test, and to learn. And how you don't have to be a genius to know about science and to get into it. Science is for everybody. And it's the kind of thing I would want to show my kids. Be like, hey, let's try some shit. And see if they get into it. And if it's like, yeah, they don't care for the story. They don't care for the story. And if they're like, yeah, we don't really get into science that much, then they don't get into science. But it's something I would want to kind of encourage them a bit. It's like, yeah, be curious. Be willing to learn. Be willing to fail and learn from your failure and make that as a step forward. I like that. I really do. Like, I really like the themes of the manga. Now, at this point in my life, as a 29-year-old, I know that science isn't my thing. Like, I'm not like, I hate science, it sucks. I don't know why I made that voice or that face, but okay. I guess that's my ignorant caveman. I'm gonna know like science. But it's, like, I am not someone who is gonna start researching shit, really experimenting shit. That's why I write books. That's why I love writing stories. To me, that is my curiosity of the unknown. What happens in this world? What happens to these people? And experimenting is like, well, if the story goes this direction, yada, yada, yada. If it goes this direction, like, okay, which one's better? And then just kind of playing around with them. That's my science, and I love it. Also, why I love Survivor, because of that political science. Jesse apparently he's like a poli-sci dude, and I've seen so many comments like, wow, I don't believe it. A poli-sci major is running circles around people. Meanwhile, the heart surgeon just with his poison in the goblet. But anyways, I feel like, to me, Dr. Stone is the kind of thing I would easily recommend to people. Like, read it, watch it, whatever, until you're bored with it. And not like, all right, I've watched 3 episodes, I want to do other stuff kind of thing. It's like, if you get to a point where you're like, I'm good, I don't really get into it that much, like, it's fun, but I just kind of want to do other stuff, fine. Because I don't think the ending, it's not like Muv-Love, where if you don't get to the ending, oh man, the ending is fantastic. Or like Giant Robo, where I felt like the ending changed everything. And it made everything I watched so much better. The ending is just, it ended, it stopped. It's not like if you don't read the ending of Dr. Stone or watch the end, I don't think it's been fully animated yet, you're really missing out on something, in my personal opinion. But I would say, if you enjoy it, if you think the premise sounds fun of people being petrified, unpetrified, and saying, cool, we're basically in a stone age now, let's rebuild society back up. And we kind of have a head start because we know things. We know that if you put this and this together, it makes this. And if you put this, this, and this together, then you get that. We have all of the knowledge. We just need the tools to be able to make it so. If that sounds interesting, and then you like the individual like arcs and stuff, go for it. But I feel like if you get to a point where you're like, it's fine, then I think you're good dropping it. You could probably just look up a plot summary and go, oh, okay. Okay. And since I finished it, I've started a new manga. I started Chainsaw Man. So I started it on Friday, finished part 1 on Monday, and then read the rest on Tuesday, including the newest chapter. I don't think I'm going to talk about Chainsaw Man here. I just wanted to bring it up because I want to do a separate thing just talking about it, because I really enjoyed reading Chainsaw Man. I will say, it's kind of a weird thing to say. I feel like it's better than it lets on. Like, at surface level, surface value, it's really over the top violence. It's crude, crass, violent, all that kind of shit, which makes it very entertaining. But I feel like in addition to it being very entertaining with all that, there's honestly a really good character study going on. And yeah, like I said, I'll talk about it later in a separate video, and I'm gonna try to keep that non-spoilery, at least for a point. There'll be a point where I'm like, okay, I need to talk about spoilers now. Just because it's something that's very new. The show, haven't even finished the first core. Like, they are not very far into the story at all. I'm going to try to keep it as chill as possible. But I think that's it then for Card Talk Tuesday. I know the Game Awards are tonight. I don't have any, like, big predictions or anything. I mean, Game of the Year is going to be God of War or Elden Ring. Sorry, Xenoblade, but I think it's between those two. I'm excited to see new trailers and shit, but I don't know. Maybe because I'm off tomorrow. Maybe I'll be like, dude, there's a new Smash character! That's not gonna happen. Okay, I can't say that because I feel like it's a never say never situation, but I'm not expecting it. I would be shocked if there was. I'd be happy, but I'm not expecting it. I guess if there's anything I'm expecting, Tekken 8, because they specifically said we're gonna be here. A new Multiverses character, because I heard that that's something very specific happening. Maybe Pokemon DLC, because there's going to be a DLC. Maybe, but I don't think they're going to do that here. Maybe a new Doom game. I don't know. I don't really know what the fuck to expect. But that's kind of what I'm enjoying about it. It's cool. I don't really have a lot of leaks. I don't have a lot of rumors. Just show me some cool shit that I can get hyped about. And hopefully it is good shit.